Every now and then, Mr. Speaker, you need to just step back and look at the record, put the rhetoric aside. When this majority showed up in January of this last year, we found a situation where our friends on the other side had failed to write a budget for this year, had failed to pass any appropriations bills, and had just sort of gone home. We had a president who had appointed a debt reduction commission and yet failed to embrace any of their actions at all, not one. Then we heard a president come and address us in this chamber, State of the Union message, didn't bother to mention the looming debt crisis for 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Then the first serious proposal we got from that president, our president, was for a $400 billion reduction over 10 years that was so laughable when it was brought up in the United States Senate, which is controlled by his party, it failed 97-0. Then the president wanted to have a free vote on raising the debt ceiling. Let's just raise it, go ahead, and see what happens. We obviously don't support that. We think there ought to be some spending reductions, but we said, sure, you've got the vote. Fewer than 100 of my friends on the other side supported their own president when he asked for that vote. So they clearly weren't sufficiently motivated to do that. Now we've reached a point where last week we actually did raise the debt ceiling by $2.7 trillion. We did institute cuts that, frankly, are going to happen anyway. They coincide with my friend Mr. Ryan's budget. And we put caps on long-term spending, and we said, just give the American people a chance, just a chance to vote on a balanced budget amendment. I'm not asking that it pass, but don't you think they ought to have the right through their state legislatures to make that decision? We were denied that. I ask the gentleman for an additional minute.
Gentleman, additional minute.
Gentleman is recognized.
I thank the Speaker. Now we're at a point where we are about to once again raise the debt ceiling and do it in a responsible way, in a way that I predict, frankly, will probably become the pattern in the future. This body should never raise the debt ceiling again automatically. We've certainly done it on our side. Our friends have done it. We should always couple it with spending restraint and reform, and that's exactly what we're doing in this measure. This majority has enacted a budget. My friend's taken a lot of arrows for that budget, but I'm proud. This body has twice, this majority has twice, or will twice, raise the debt ceiling and couple it with historic spending cuts. And as for the president's plan that we hear about, I'd just like to see it, just once. I haven't seen anything or heard anything like this since Richard Nixon had a secret plan to end the war. The president must have a secret plan because it's not on paper, it's not been scored, it's not been publicly presented to anybody. So to act like, and by the way, one last thing on that, if Speaker Reid, or excuse me, Majority Leader, additional minute?
Additional minute.
If the Majority Leader's plan scores at $2.2 trillion, I take my friend's word on that, I guess we really have a $4 trillion deficit, because we have $3 trillion, and we don't even count the extra trillion, which is automatic because the wars are ending. So I think we ought to up ours. We have a $4 trillion plan. We ought to give the Majority Leader the credit for that, for finding that additional trillion. And if you'll just vote with this, we'll have your magic $4 trillion plan done. R3, Senator Reid's 1, that adds up to what the President wanted. So let's pass this, give the Senate an opportunity to pass it, give the President of the United States an opportunity to sign it. With that, I yield back.